Amari Cooper is an interesting case. I think Ben DiNucci could start a quarterback in this week. Could be Cooper Rush. Could be Garrett Gilbert. There's
I
still
don't think it will be Ben DiNucci.
Yeah, I hardly doubt that they'll go back to that well.
I'm praying for Garrett Gilbert, man. Watching him in the AAF, Gilbert's a stud. He comes in and plays. I'm not concerned about Amari Cooper.
Is he going to help Zeke, though? I think that's another question, too.
I mean, I think he'll help the entire offense, which would mean, yes, he's helping Zeke. Well, we should also probably mention that Zeke is listed as questionable right now with a hamstring injury, and we don't like to see hamstring injuries. I have Amari Cooper at 18 among wide receivers, which may be too high for him still. It's way low compared to where he has been the entire season, but obviously with his quarterback situation, that's rough. Amari Cooper's still going to get the targets. Dallas is going up against a defense Dallas is playing Pittsburgh this week, correct?
Yeah, yes, they are.
They're going up against a defense that's not great against wide receivers, quite good against quarterbacks, which is obviously concerning with their offensive line and the quarterback that's starting. But they're not great against wide receivers. Amari Cooper will have some opportunities. He'll get some targets. I don't think he'll be horrible this week. I still have him as a mid-tier wide receiver too. So yes, especially over options like Christian Kirk or Marvin Jones, I would still start him. I know Marvin Jones is the number one guy there in Detroit, but when he was that number one guy earlier, he still was not.
There's two storylines to talk about and hit on with the names that you just mentioned. Let's start with the Cowboys. Let's start with Ezekiel Elliott because that's more prominent right now. Zeke, you're right, was listed and limited today in practice with that hamstring injury. This is new. Unless he's been dealing with it and the medical staff hasn't said anything over the past few weeks, Zeke has not had an issue so far this year. This is the first time it's come up. I tweeted out something earlier to say pick up Tony Pollard just in case, and people said, why would I pick up Tony Pollard? And the answer is, well, I know that the Cowboys have been struggling as a whole, and I know that Zeke hasn't looked great, but you're still going to find a running back here that's had 17-plus touches every single game this season. And if you're desperate for running back, instead of maybe starting at Tyler Ervin against a very tough San Francisco 49ers defensive front, I'd rather take the shot on Tony Pollard if he has the backfield to himself. What do you think?
I'd agree with that. I think if Tony Pollard starts, he's still going to get a lot of touches. He's going to be that bell cow back. Obviously, with Zeke, he has not been producing even with those touches right now, but they're going to come. I think he'll get better. I'm optimistic about Zeke still. Maybe that's partly because I am myself a Zeke owner, but I'm optimistic about him. The touches will, especially when, obviously Ben DiNucci is not going to be the starting quarterback forever.
No.
I do expect if Andy Dalton comes back, he's got to play better. I mean, Andy Dalton's a good enough quarterback in the NFL to allow Zeke to have some value.
Yeah, and Dalton will be back. They have a bye next week, so Dalton should be cleared at that point, and hopefully the Cowboys come up with some better game plan after the bye to get Zeke more effective touches and to get some of their better skill players touches, because CeeDee Lamb having few targets every week, it just goes down at this point. I know people are asking to drop CeeDee Lamb. I wouldn't do that right now. I wouldn't do that after the bye. I honestly would just hold him. I don't want to leave unless you can trade him for something. I wouldn't drop CeeDee Lamb. But just speaking on
definitely
Ezekiel
don't
Elliott,
drop him.
Yeah, no, don't drop him. Lucas, you had Zeke at 5.
Yeah,
against the
I'm
Pittsburgh
looking at
defense.
that, and I kind of regret that. I'm going to be honest. I did my rankings pretty fast. I am going to change that here pretty quickly.
I had Zeke at 17, and because you had him so high, and Jack even had him at 7, actually, you guys were both extremely high on him. I had him as a mid-range RB2, borderline. And in our consensus rankings, you think he ended up at like 14, which I still think is a little bit too high because there are guys out there that I'd rather start over him.
I don't know if I'd go as far as that. He would probably end up at 12 for me if I'm looking at my rankings right now.
So you're looking at a guy like
11.
Justin Jackson. Justin Jackson.
I'd start Zeke over Justin Jackson.
Really? Even
Yes.
with the plus matchup,
Yes.
the Raiders have given up so many yards to the running back position.
The touches are still there.
I know, but you're going. Zeke is going against the toughest defense against the run in the NFL.
Defense. It's a great defense. It's a great defense, but he's still Zeke.
I've said this for weeks now. You can't make the excuse just because he's Zeke. He has to keep remaining that high.
Obviously, what's most concerning to me with Zeke is not the quarterback play. What's most concerning to me is the bad offensive line, more than just the fact that he's a running back. We have never seen an Ezekiel Elliott with a bad offensive line, which is quite concerning, especially going up against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh obviously has the best run defense in the league, like you said, Shane. But I still think that Zeke, if he's gotten into the end zone the last couple weeks, it's a solid fantasy day. Again, the receptions haven't been there. I think they're going to come back. They were there for the majority of the first part of the season. 5, I agree, is too high for Zeke, but low end RB1, I think, is still a good spot. I would still start him over David Johnson, over David Montgomery.